As long as you seek approval from someone who never believed in themselves, your vision will be shackled.
Have you ever noticed how there's always someone ready to tell you that it won't work? That it's better not to try? That dreaming big is dangerous? These voices are everywhere. And the worst part is that they often come from those who should be supporting you the most. Family members, colleagues, even friends, all ready to shut down your ideas with phrases like, "Don't you think this is too risky? Is so-and-so tried and failed? If it were easy, everyone would do it." And it is at this exact point that many give up on their dreams. Not for lack of ability, but for excessive interference. Napoleon Hill once said, "Opinions are the cheapest commodities in the world." And unfortunately, these cheap commodities are the ones that have destroyed the most brilliant futures. What no one tells you is that negative people aren't always trying to hurt you. Sometimes they're just afraid of seeing you grow, afraid of losing you, afraid of facing their own stagnation. And do you know what the result is? They project this fear onto you, hindering your personal development, distancing you from abundance, and pushing you toward a mediocre life. But here's the truth that no one wants to face. You don't need anyone's approval to get started. Your vision is valid even if no one understands it. Your intuition is sacred, even if others try to silence it. And the power of your mind is infinitely greater than any pessimistic phrases they try to force down your throat. Manifestation begins the moment you stop listening to those who have never built anything. When you choose to believe in yourself, everything starts to fall into place. The ideas, the opportunities, the energy, the connections. If you're tired of being dragged down by voices that keep you from what's rightfully yours, then this video is for you. Because today I'm going to show you how to identify these sabotaging voices, how to protect your energy, develop unshakable conviction, and create an environment where your dreams can flourish with full force. You'll discover how to reprogram your mind to stop listening to those who've never lived what you want to achieve, and finally take control of your reality. By the way, if this topic resonates with you, take advantage and subscribe to the channel now. This is very important for the growth of this space and ensures that you receive all the upcoming videos that will continue to expand your mind. Your subscription is a clear signal to the universe that you are committed to your evolution. Now, let's get straight to the point. There is a voice inside every human being trying to convince us that we are not good enough. This voice, sneaky and disguised as realism, usually appears at the most decisive moments, when the individual decides to undertake, change careers, or simply try something new. She whispers with conviction, "You won't make it. This is not for you." And the most curious thing is that often this voice does not come from outside. It springs from the mind, shaped by years of limiting beliefs, misinterpreted experiences, and words heard in childhood. Identifying it is the first step to regaining control over your own destiny. Napoleon Hill said that man's greatest enemy lies within his own mind. This sabotaging voice disguises itself as prudence or caution, but its real name is fear. And fear is the thief of opportunities, the killer of dreams, the jailer of abundance. When someone internalizes negative affirmations, such as, "I'm terrible with numbers," or "No one in my family got rich, so I won't either," this programming becomes an invisible obstacle that paralyzes even the most promising of talents. For those seeking personal growth and wanting to break this cycle, the secret is to train the inner ear to distinguish between the voice of intuition and the voice of self-sabotage. Intuition inspires, encourages, and expands. The sabotaging voice, on the other hand, represses, limits, and diminishes. A powerful technique for this identification is to keep a mental diary. Every time a blocking internal phrase arises, ask yourself, "Is this true, or is it just an inherited belief?" This simple act of questioning already begins the process of mental reprogramming. These voices often repeat themselves so often that they become part of a person's identity. But remember, thoughts are not facts, they are suggestions. And the mind, as the philosophy of self-help and personal development teaches, is moldable. When you notice an automatic negative phrase, immediately replace it with a positive affirmation. Tell yourself, "I am in constant professional development," or "I can manifest the reality I desire." This activates the power of the mind and begins to dissolve old patterns. The sabotaging voices also manifest themselves as sophisticated excuses. "Now is not the best time." I need to take another course. After I lose weight. After I retire. And these excuses are dangerously convincing. But they all come from the same source. Fear of failure, fear of exposing oneself, fear of growth. Self-discipline comes into play at this point as a powerful weapon. Because even when you are afraid, you can act. Even when you are in doubt, you can persist. It is important to emphasize that these sabotaging voices do not come out of nowhere. They are a reflection of the environment in which the person grew up, the advice they heard, the criticism they internalized. Therefore, when recognizing them, the person should not judge themselves, but rather free themselves. A great practice is to make a list of phrases that repeatedly come to your mind and, next to each one, write a new empowering version. Transform. I'm too old for this in, I am experienced and my insight is valuable. It may seem simple, but it changes everything. And when this identification becomes constant, something magical happens. The mind begins to work for you, not against you. What once paralyzed you now drives you forward. What once hurt you now awakens you. But there is something even more subtle, more profound, that needs to be understood before moving forward, and that few people dare to confront. The most dangerous advice isn't the kind given with bad intentions. It's the kind given by someone who loves you, but doesn't understand your purpose. Many people fail to follow their dreams because they listen to someone who never had the courage to pursue their own. The wisdom here is simple, yet profound. Not all advice is worth listening to, especially when it goes against your personal growth. If someone tells you that getting rich is too hard, that the world is unfair, or that you're dreaming too big, they may just be projecting their own limitations. Napoleon Hill warned about this vehemently. Advice must be filtered by the clarity of your vision. When a person accepts guidance that does not reflect their values or align with their success mindset, they run the risk of going in circles. The most tragic thing is that this can happen subtly without them realizing it. A simple, "Be careful" with that, or "I think it's risky" from someone they respect can undermine their conviction. It's as if they plant seeds of doubt in the fertile ground of manifestation. Filtering is not disrespect. Filtering is protecting what is sacred, your vision. A good example of this is when someone wants to start a business and hears from family members that it is better to stay in a safe job, even if they are unhappy. The fear of others cannot be your guide. You need to ask yourself, does this person live the kind of life that I want to have? If the answer is no, then their advice should be listened to with love, but not followed. The power of the mind is strengthened when we consciously choose which voices deserve space. There is also advice that is wrapped in logic, but is devoid of faith. It's better not to invest now. Don't talk too much about your plans. Don't create expectations. These are phrases that, if analyzed in the light of positive thinking and self-help, serve more to keep the person in a state of survival than of expansion. Mental reprogramming begins when you realize that many of these recommendations reflect negative thoughts disguised as caution. And the price of following this type of advice is high. You stay in the same place. Of course, good advice exists, but it comes from minds aligned with personal development, from people who study affirmations, who apply self-improvement, and live in constant evolution. If you want to get rich, listen to those who have already walked the path of abundance. If you want to manifest an extraordinary life, connect with those who understand the power of manifestation. That is wisdom. That is emotional self-discipline. Because filtering advice is, above all, an act of self-love and commitment to your truth. It's easy to get lost when you're surrounded by strong opinions but no spiritual clarity. So whenever you receive advice, ask yourself, does this bring me closer to my vision or further away from it? The answer will be like an internal compass. Professional and personal development become consistent when you silence the external noise and listen more closely to your inner conviction. But to do this, there's an even more crucial point that needs to be understood, and it defines what you allow or do not allow to carry emotionally. People without emotional boundaries live like leaves in the wind, carried away by every criticism, expectation, or external demand. Setting boundaries does not mean withdrawing from the world. It means protecting your energy, your peace, your focus. And this requires inner strength, because it is not easy to say no when you are used to pleasing others. But personal growth necessarily involves this point, the awareness that you are not responsible for other people's emotions, but rather the guardian of your own vibration. Napoleon Hill said that the price of inner freedom is emotional self-discipline. Without it, a person becomes lost in the desires of others and disconnects from the power of his or her mind. Well-defined boundaries are like invisible walls that prevent the emotions of others from invading your inner temple. If someone treats you rudely, you can choose not to react. If someone demands more than you can give, you can firmly say, "Not now." This is not selfishness, it is self-respect. One practical example is learning to walk away from conversations that begin with, "You should." These phrases are often intended to control, not guide. You may listen politely, but choose not to take action. Setting emotional boundaries also means removing yourself from environments where your ideas are constantly invalidated. This strengthens your success mindset and helps dissolve limiting beliefs that have been fueled by living with emotionally invasive people. There are people who, because they don't know how to manage their emotions, try to make others carry the burden they themselves don't want to face. And that's where the role of loving firmness comes in. There's no need to shout or justify yourself too much. A simple "I respect your point of view, but it doesn't work for me" is enough. This phrase, said calmly, is a valuable and powerful self-help tool. It breaks the cycle of subtle manipulation and returns emotional responsibility to the person who actually carries it. Personal development requires this type of constant vigilance, because what is at stake is not only your peace, but your ability to express yourself. Unmanaged emotions become internal saboteurs. Protected, channeled, and respected emotions become fuel for growth. Setting limits is a spiritual act. It is you saying to the universe, "I value myself enough to protect my energy." People often feel guilty about putting themselves first, but this guilt is just a reflection of old programming, the one that said that loving someone else always means sacrificing yourself. It's time to reprogram this negative thinking. To love is not to nullify yourself. To love is to include yourself. By strengthening yourself emotionally, you become a solid pillar for yourself and, naturally, for others. But this emotional solidity can only be maintained if you avoid a silent mistake that corrodes even the strongest minds. Environments are not neutral, they have vibrations, and certain atmospheres are true tombs of energy. How many times does a person enter a place and within a few minutes feel tired, unmotivated, heavy? This is no coincidence. It is energetic perception. Napoleon Hill warned, avoid destructive influences even if they are disguised as normality. Environments filled with complaints, negative thoughts, people who mock other people's dreams. All of this contaminates the mind and silently undermines personal growth. If a person wants to become rich, prosper, and develop, they need to treat their energy as a highly valuable asset. No one who wants to live a life of abundance can afford to frequently live in spaces that operate on a frequency of scarcity. And here we are not just talking about physical places, but also conversations, social networks, and friendship circles. A WhatsApp group that only spreads tragedy and gossip? A workplace where everyone is always complaining? These environments act as invisible anchors for those seeking conscious manifestation. Imagine someone who is trying to reprogram their mind with positive affirmations, but every time they get together with certain friends, all they hear is about failure, crisis, fear, and illness. This nullifies the mental effort. It is like planting a seed and then throwing poison on the soil. That is why self-discipline here comes in the form of choice. Choosing where to be, who to be with, and how long to stay. A healthy environment stimulates positive thinking, motivation, and self-improvement. A toxic environment, on the other hand, destroys all of this without asking permission. That's why if this content is touching you in any way, I invite you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This helps a lot to keep this space alive, where your mind can find daily food to continue growing. Activating the bell is also important so that you don't miss the next videos. After all, you deserve to be surrounded by ideas that drive you, not drain you. Back to the main point. Environments are draining when they require you to dim your light so that others feel comfortable. When you have to hide your dreams so as not to be judged, or avoid talking about growth because you always hear that you are being stuck up on. These are clear signs that you are in the wrong place. It's not about arrogance, it's about self-respect. You don't need to mold yourself to fit into places that don't respect your spiritual development. A good practice is to observe how you feel after spending time in a certain environment. If you feel exhausted, discouraged, irritated, or mentally confused, write it down. The body does not lie. The power of the mind is directly linked to the vibrational state in which you operate. And if the environment forces you to operate at a low frequency, you will reap proportional results. Therefore, avoid the mistake of trying to adapt to places that do not nourish you. And when you start to step out of these places, something amazing happens. Your mind clears, your energy levels soar, and new opportunities begin to open up. But there's one crucial detail that completes this process, and without it the whole transformation can quietly fall apart. Conviction is the rock on which an unshakable life is built. When someone develops a firm inner conviction, they become immune to external storms. Criticism, doubts from others, momentary obstacles. None of these have the power to knock them down. Napoleon Hill taught that all riches begin with a burning faith in an idea. And this faith does not come from the outside world. It springs from within. It is the kind of certainty that does not ask for validation, that does not waver with the winds of opinion, that simply, and developing this inner strength requires practice, repetition, and intention. It is not enough to want to. It is necessary to cultivate powerful affirmations daily that support your identity and purpose. Affirmations such as, I am guided by a higher purpose. My mind is my fortress. I manifest opportunities. Every day become anchors for the days when everything seems to fall apart. True conviction is silent, but powerful. She doesn't scream, but she sustains. It does not impose, but builds. A clear example of this is people who start a project and at the first negative comment, give up. Why? Because they were supported by external expectations and not by internal conviction. Those who have a clear and strong vision do not need others to understand, approve, or applaud. They continue anyway. This is personal growth in practice. It is the type of success mentality that separates those who try from those who achieve, those who dream from those who make it happen. Many people confuse conviction with stubbornness, but the difference is glaring. Stubbornness is insisting on a mistake out of pride. Conviction is persisting in the vision for clarity, and this clarity comes from self-knowledge, from spirituality, from connection with something greater. The person who knows who is it, what do you want, and why do you want does not bend to the pressures of the world. This makes her free. Free to say no. Free to choose. Free to manifest abundance without fear. Firm inner conviction also protects against the poison of comparisons. Because when you are sure of your own path, there is no need to compete. The focus is on growing, not on proving anything to anyone. And this security attracts. It attracts opportunities, attracts the right people, attracts wealth. The energy of those who have conviction vibrates differently. It is magnetic, and the universe responds with impressive synchronicities. A powerful exercise is to write down daily why you believe in your vision. Not what you want to achieve, but why it's important to you. This exercise activates the power of your subconscious mind and reinforces your faith in times of uncertainty. Belief doesn't eliminate challenges, but it does make them less paralyzing. It's like walking on hot coals with your eyes fixed on what's calling you forward. And as that conviction grows, everything changes. Your words change. Your habits change. Your posture changes. But there is one essential element to keeping that conviction vibrating high, something that is often overlooked, and that, if not understood, can turn any criticism into emotional poison. Not all criticism is constructive, and those seeking personal growth need to know how to differentiate this as soon as possible. Destructive criticism usually comes disguised as sincerity, but hides envy, frustration, or a desire for control. Napoleon Hill teaches us that success attracts attention, and not all attention is positive. Therefore, it is essential to develop mental and emotional techniques to shield your mind from words that try to paralyze, confuse, or diminish you. One of the most powerful techniques is immediate neutralization. When someone says something that hurts or discourages you, instead of absorbing and dwelling on it, respond mentally. That opinion does not define who I am. This is mental reprogramming in action. The power of the mind is not in avoiding criticism, but in transforming its impact. A negative sentence only becomes painful if you allow it to enter. If you don't, it vanishes into thin air. Another essential point is to remember that no one throws stones at a tree that doesn't bear fruit. When you grow, you show up. And when you show up, you bother those who haven't yet had the courage to grow. This perception changes everything. Criticism stops being a personal attack and becomes a sign. You are moving, you are awakening, you are manifesting. And for many people, this is threatening. The successful mentality understands that this type of reaction doesn't say anything about you. It says something about the other person. One practical tool is the source filter. Ask yourself, is this criticism coming from someone I admire? From someone who has achieved the results I'm looking for? If the answer is no, simply dismiss it. Don't waste your energy trying to explain yourself to someone who isn't committed to your personal development. Emotional self-discipline requires this kind of cutting. You don't have to defend yourself from everything. You need to protect yourself from what doesn't deserve space in your mind. It's also helpful to write down 3 positive statements about yourself right after receiving criticism. Something like, I am growing every day. I am worthy of abundance. I trust my process. This rebalances the internal vibration and prevents criticism from taking hold as a limiting belief. This type of practice, although simple, has a profound effect on self-improvement. It is like applying a spiritual antidote before the poison spreads. Remember, destructive criticism doesn't need to be responded to. It needs to be understood, filtered, and discarded. It's like a letter that comes to you but you choose not to open. You don't have to carry someone else's limited view. This awareness frees you. It gives you back your power, and it brings you closer to an even deeper place. A silent force that, when used well, transforms everything around you without you saying a single word. Silence is not absence. Silence is elevated presence. It has the power to protect ideas, preserve energy, and shield vision. Napoleon Hill once said that we should keep our plans secret until they are sufficiently strengthened to withstand the doubts of others. Sharing your goals with those who are not ready to understand them is like throwing seeds into the wind. They do not bloom. They just get lost. Strategic silence is one of the greatest allies of personal growth. How many times has a person expressed their dreams and then received a barrage of negative opinions? This won't work. You're dreaming too big. So-and-so tried and failed. These words lodge in the unconscious and sabotage the power of the mind. But when silence is cultivated wisely, it works like an invisible shield. It creates space for manifestation to happen without external interference, like a secret garden that blooms away from hurried eyes. Strategic silence is also a form of self-discipline. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, those who choose to listen more and speak less stand out for their wisdom. Listening to the universe, feeling intuition, perceiving signs, all of this requires inner silence. And this silence, when practiced with intention, leads to spiritual development. The person learns to observe without reacting, to respond with awareness, to reflect before exposing themselves. This is emotional maturity in its purest form. Using silence as a strategy also involves knowing when not to over-explain, when not to justify yourself, when not to give in to the anxiety of proving something. It is understanding that your truth does not need to be defended with words, but consolidated with results. The success mindset understands that the fruits speak for themselves. There is no need to convince those who are not willing to see. The real power lies in acting in silence and letting the universe take care of amplifying the signals. A practical example of this is when someone is starting a bold project, a new idea, or a plan to get rich. Instead of telling everyone, they start in silence, study, apply, adjust. And when the first results appear, they speak louder than any explanation. This type of attitude preserves vital energy and avoids external interference that could generate doubts, comparisons, or even veiled sabotage. Silence, in this case, is spiritual protection. But it's important to remember, strategic silence is not isolation. It's not repressing feelings or avoiding true connections. It's choosing wisely what to do, when, the with whom, and the how much sharing. It is keeping your vibrational field clean so that mental reprogramming can work clearly. And the more you connect with this type of silence, the more you realize its transformative power. Because there is something that silence reveals. something that only blossoms when the mind is aligned with equally conscious minds. Nothing accelerates personal development more than being surrounded by people who vibrate at the same frequency. Connecting with minds aligned with your purpose is like lighting a fire from a single flame. Everything intensifies. Napoleon Hill once said that true power manifests itself when two or more minds unite with a common goal. This union generates what he called a mastermind, an invisible field where ideas grow, projects are strengthened, and miracles happen more quickly. When a person decides to change their reality, get rich, reprogram their mind, and manifest something great, they need to observe those around them, because the environment directly influences the results. If you are surrounded by people who are always complaining, mocking positive affirmations, don't believe in spiritual development, and still try to bring you back to reality, it is only a matter of time until you become weak. But when you get close to those who share the same mindset of success, everything changes. These connections don't have to be in person. You can form spiritual alliances with people you may not even know personally. You can connect through books, videos, online communities, content like this. The important thing is that there is exchange, inspiration, positive reinforcement. When you hear someone talking about manifestation with passion, about growth with faith, about self-knowledge with depth, it rekindles in you what the world has tried to extinguish. Here's a practical tip. Start replacing some of your time on social media with content that elevates you. Follow professional development profiles, self-help channels, listen to podcasts about abundance, read books like Think and Grow Rich. When you do this continuously, you create a bubble of vibrational reinforcement. Little by little, this bubble turns into a magnetic field that begins to attract people with the same purpose. And these people, even from a distance, have the power to boost you. Furthermore, when you are surrounded by like-minded people, results come more easily. Ideas flow, fear diminishes, and confidence grows. You share experiences, listen to stories that inspire you, and learn from the mistakes and successes of those who are walking the same path. This is accelerated growth. It is as if together, you are building a more solid road, where each step is firmer because it is not being taken alone. It's important to understand that connections aren't just social, they're spiritual. There are souls who cross your path because they need to walk alongside you for a while. Others need to be left behind. Knowing how to identify these connections and prioritize those that strengthen your faith, your vision, and your enthusiasm is one of the secrets of manifestation. And when you surround yourself with the right people, you start to notice something that changes everything. The environment starts to work in your favor. But this is only possible if you have the courage to intentionally create a space where positivity is the rule. The environment you live in is a reflection of what you allow to influence you on a daily basis. Creating a positively reinforcing environment is like setting up a vibrational sanctuary where your mind finds support to stay focused on its purpose. Napoleon Hill stated that dominant thoughts shape reality, and so we need to surround our minds with stimuli that reinforce what we want to manifest. If your goal is to become rich, have abundance, and evolve spiritually, then your environment needs to reflect this in every detail. Think about visual stimuli. What's on the walls of your home? What images, words, colors, and objects are in your field of vision every day? A chalkboard with powerful phrases, a wall with your goals clearly written on it, books on personal development within reach. All of these are mental anchors that help you stay focused and upbeat. A simple post-it with a statement like, "I am a magnet for opportunities," can change the tone of an entire day. The environment also involves sounds, the music you listen to, the videos you watch, even the conversations that happen around you. Everything has a frequency. A positive reinforcement environment wisely filters what enters your ears. Replacing negative music with affirmation audios, for example, is a simple but very powerful practice. By doing this repeatedly, you begin to reprogram your mind without conscious effort, simply by being exposed to messages aligned with the success mindset. Another key point: people. The most powerful environment is one built on relationships. Having people around you who believe in you, who encourage your growth, who talk about ideas, not problems. That changes everything. Sometimes, all it takes is a change in the frequency of coexistence for the energy to start transforming. Reducing contact with those who vibrate low and increasing your presence with those who inspire you is a practical form of self-help. It's like pruning a tree so that it grows stronger. And let's not forget about the internal environment, your thoughts, emotions, and self-concept. Creating a positively reinforcing environment is also about cultivating thoughts that validate who you are becoming. When you think, I am capable, my evolution is inevitable, I allow myself to become rich, you plant seeds that bear invisible but powerful fruit. This is true spiritual development. It is not just about what is outside, but about what vibrates inside. Many people believe that they need to change cities, jobs, or love lives to feel more peace. But in reality, sometimes all it takes is a change in your mental and physical environment for everything around you to respond differently. You begin to create a magnetic field of positive reinforcement wherever you go. This is manifestation in practice. And when this environment is active, it protects you, inspires you, and prepares you for the next liberating truth. A truth that many ignore, but which holds one of the greatest secrets of the human mind. Some of the greatest ideas in history have been ridiculed before they were recognized. This is because the world is accustomed to validating only what it already understands. And anything new, bold, or disruptive generates resistance. But your vision doesn't need anyone's approval to exist. It's already real inside you. Napoleon Hill made it clear. Whatever the human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The key is firm belief, not external acceptance. When you are clear about what you want to manifest, your vision becomes a beacon. And this beacon is not meant to be validated, but to be followed. Many people give up on their purpose because they don't find applause at the beginning of the journey. But applause is a reflection of the result, not the beginning. What you need in the beginning is not validation, it is conviction. It is faith. It is a success mindset to sustain the days when everything seems impossible. The truth is that people only start to believe in you when the results appear. Until then, they will doubt, question, laugh, and try to protect you from frustration. But you don't need an audience to grow. You need focus, self-discipline, and continuous self-improvement. You need to remember every day why you started. And you need to firmly declare, even if no one understands, I follow. Even if no one believes, I achieve. Manifestation happens when there is congruence between what you feel, think, and do. If you believe in your vision, act on it, and refuse to give up, the universe takes care of the rest. And the more you strengthen that belief, the faster the signs begin to appear. This is mental reprogramming in its purest form. Transforming doubt into certainty, weakness into strength, hesitation into courage. And it starts within, not without. A good exercise is to write a simple sentence every day. I approve of my vision. This small practice strengthens emotional independence and breaks the cycle of seeking validation. Because the truth is, the more you seek acceptance, the further you move away from your essence. Abundance comes from aligning with what you feel is true, and not from the opinions of others. The mission of those committed to personal growth is to protect their vision as if it were a sacred treasure. And when external approval finally comes, if it does, you'll be so focused on your purpose that it won't matter anymore. Because what really matters is the peace of knowing that you were faithful to what your soul asked for. And that peace is priceless. Now that you know every detail about how to protect your energy, develop conviction, and silence sabotaging voices, the question remains, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to let these words pass by like another video you watched and forgot? Or are you going to make the decision to apply each principle and transform your life starting today? Think about it. How many opportunities have you missed out on by listening to people who aren't living the way you want to live? How many dreams have you shelved for fear of seeming too crazy, too bold, too ambitious? Enough. From now on, you have real, practical, and powerful tools to reprogram your mind, change your environment, and direct your energy towards what really matters. Your personal growth, your abundance, and your fulfillment. Maybe no one around you believes in what you want to build yet, but your reality doesn't need to be understood by anyone. It needs to be manifested, and you can do that. What are you waiting for? Are you going to keep waiting for validation, or are you going to become living proof that the success mindset works? Tell me in the comments, what part of this video touched you the most? At what point did you feel that internal click, as if something finally made sense? Share it with me. I read it all, And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the time. Also, activate the bell so you don't miss any new content, because if you've come this far, it's a sign that you're ready to go much further. And I'll be here to walk with you every step of the way.